with the passing of the Underwood Constitution in 1869, it required all counties to be divided into townships, also known as magisterial districts, and 6 names were picked, including Lee, and that name has carried over today. There is no documentation for why they picked the Lee name, but it undoubtedly is connected to the Lee family.
The earliest answer my coworkers and I have ever been able to find as to whom Lee District was named for was in a newspaper article 66 years after it was named. In 1936, the Lee District Improvement Association held a history paper contest, and they published the 3rd prize winner's essay in the Herndon News Observer on February 27, 1936, and that's what you see here. 7th grader Elsie Sheeds wrote the 3rd prize winning essay, and everything she wrote about the district history is actually surprisingly accurate 85 years later, so she did a great job writing this. She wrote in her introductory paragraph, which you see here, quote, "When the county was organized, one of the 6 units was Lee District, which was named for a famous family of Virginia, the Lees," end quote.
Where does the name Franconia come from, though? It is unknown. There is no documentation, much like the naming of Lee District. We don't have a diary or anything from the Fowle family where they woke up one day and said, "Hey, we're gonna name our farm Franconia because XYZ. A speculative answer, though, is the Fowles may have named it either after Franconia, New Hampshire, or the Franconia Ironworks, which is in New Hampshire, and they had locations in Massachusetts. Both Robert Fowle and his father William Fowle spent time in Boston, and the Fowle family had Massachusetts ancestors living there as early as 1638. So they were there back when Massachusetts was a colony. The town of Franconia, New Hampshire is 150 miles northwest of Boston, and it was named after the terrain's resemblance to Franconian, Switzerland, which is in the German region of Franconia. This area of New Hampshire is also known for the Franconia Range, which you see here. It is a mountain range located in the White Mountains. Also in Franconia, New Hampshire was based the Franconia Iron Company, which had been there since the early 19th century.
I would like to just start by saying I do support the name change. As an African-American resident of Lee District, it is very difficult to talk to my children about our history and American history, and signs send signals that at one point we were only seen as commodity, not human beings. So as we fight for Black lives to matter, we need to send signs that says that we matter today. History has repeatedly told us that we don't matter. And it is very difficult to send my children, my Black African-American sons to school, and they come home and ask me why they have to look at symbols and signs that continue to tell them that they don't matter. So I support changing the name so that my children can be proud Fairfax residents. They can be proud to be from a district that says that they matter.
I do think that the name should change. Franconia is the main road that runs through this entire district. It makes total sense to me, and it would most likely, I think, would be the cheapest option. To me, it's not a name after a tribe or a person or people of, or a person or a type of person or a race of person. It just is a name of a main road, just like the other ones, like Mount Vernon.
One of the things you brought up last time was the need for a sense of place to define where we are. And I think, as John has pointed out, this area, and not just Franconia Road, is associated with the word Franconia.
If you look at the other district governmental centers, Solly, Mason, they all are named for the district. And I think we're the only district that has a district name that does not agree with the name of the governmental center. And it's confusing, and I think it should be lined up with a major road.
I appreciate this opportunity to speak tonight on behalf of the Fairfax County NAACP in support of changing the name of Lee District.
I personally am in favor of going with Franconia because it's a place name.
I've been listening to all the research that not only Chris but other people have done, and I definitely from the beginning felt the name needed to be changed, and a location name is the best option for the future.
forth, I think there's an argument to be made that if we're going to try to attract businesses, try to attract tech businesses, I think changing the name to literally anything else that doesn't bring up like Confederate history is going to be a plus economically.
I am in support of a name change, given the fact that this name, even if you can't necessarily prove it, it has too much connotation that is adjacent to racist, secessionist, traitorous Southern history.
So I think the answer is to name the district after a geographical area that's in line with the names of most of the other districts. The best choice would be the name that actually appears on a sign right out there on Franconia Road, the Franconia District.
I feel very strongly that the name should be changed. And I would pick Franconia as the line of least resistance.
That it's just not a good idea to name something after a person, because you just don't know how history is going to react to that person or how other people react to that person. And in Fairfax County, we just have such a difficulty identifying places. And the geographic names that identify a place are just so helpful.
I also feel very strongly that we should change the name. I live right across the street from what is now the Lewis High School. My children went there, and it was extremely exciting to me to change that name. I'm thrilled about it every time I drive by and see the new sign, and I would love for us to change the Lee District name as well.
When I moved here to Lee District, I must say, kind of mildly embarrassed that I lived in Lee District. If Robert E. Lee had fought to keep my ancestors in slavery, it would bother me a lot. I'm thoroughly in favor of changing the name of the district. The most logical name to me would be Franconia, because number one, Franconia is central to the district, and it's also a fairly well-known name. I mean, given the name of the metro station and the parkway, it's a name that means something to people.
I personally think it's important to remember that our district represents a lot of people, that we need to be inclusive. And so that's one reason that I recommend that we look at changing this name of the district, regardless of who the district may or may not have been named after originally. There is a perception that carries a negative weight, and we need to consider that in our community. We should certainly consider place names that are known in our community. For example, the Franconia name is not just in one neighborhood, but also runs along a 5-mile road and is the name of one of our subway stations.
I do strongly support changing the name from Lee District, and I do also support the name Franconia as well.
I also grew up in Franconia. The years that I've spent growing up in Franconia is really important to me. So while I like and love Laurel Grove, I would recommend Franconia. Everybody in my family that grew up in Franconia, you never forget it. No matter where you live, Franconia is still home.
Think about what the librarian told us from the Virginia room was that there's been a history of successively renaming places over and over again, and we're just making history again here. I don't think we're pretending things that happened in the past didn't happen, but we're just continuing the story we're telling about ourselves, which is what happens when you pick names.